Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another session. I'm super excited today for the two special guests that I have on, Dallas and Paul. They are with Really Serious Films Production. They have a feature film out right now on their YouTube channel. Links are in the show notes. It's called Moon River. And as of August 31st, they are releasing a really cool documentary about the making of Moon River. Tune in for a really special treat. This is a great episode. And for any of you future indie filmmakers out there, I think you're really going to enjoy this. And as always, welcome to IPA Sessions. Welcome to IPA Sessions, a podcast for independent artists. As always, I'm your host, Kay Jacob, and I have some really cool guests on today. I'm really excited to go down this world of comedy and drama and deeply moving cinema. These guys are incredible. I've had the opportunity to work with them both on their project and on studio projects, so they do exist in the film world out there. But what I'm really excited to talk about is Really Serious Films with Paul Krueger and Dallas Schaefer. These guys are short filmmakers, feature filmmakers, and web series creators. Please welcome to the show, for the first time, I'm excited to introduce Paul and Dallas. Say hi, guys.
Hi. Hello. Good to be here. Thanks.
Hey, no problem. I know we've been trying to get this going for a little bit, but you guys have been super busy, and that's a good thing. And I want to, I forgot in your introduction to talk about the films that you have out. There's a brand new feature film that you just released called Moon River. As well as a short film called, I believe, 6 Days on Foot.
Yep.
And, of course, your comedy web series, Boy Talk. Just tell us a little bit about who you guys are and what all you do and what is Really Serious Films.
Whew, wow, a lot to unpack there. Paul,
I know. It's all you.
Sure.
Have at it.
Yeah, so Really Serious Films, I feel like it was very rooted during the pandemic as like a series of different pandemic projects that continued to evolve. And then it was like Boy Talk. And then after doing Boy Talk for a while, we were kind of under the impression that the name Boy Talk wasn't a very good brand name to go with because of how misleading it was, where we would always get questions about, oh, is this a podcast about boys, Boy Talk? And we were like, yeah, maybe we should try to find like a name that describes our style and our form and kind of what we do. So we're like, Really Serious Films makes sense as kind of the long-term brand name of what we're going to be working on and a lot of the style of our films. So then we decided to do that. And then with Really Serious Films, we kind of also closed the chapter on 4 seasons of a web series, and then moved into this new chapter of Really Serious Films. And Moon River, in a way, was like the first big project that we did as Really Serious Films. And I feel like that was a good way to just set the tone for all future projects of like, okay, this is the direction that we're going with it. And yeah, so I think it was about a year ago that we like officially changed it to Really Serious Films as well.
Okay, nice. Yeah, because I think for a while you did go by the name of the web series, right?
Yeah, it was actually around the time we met you was around the time we actually changed the name.
So, yeah, because I had the old card that said Boy Talk, and I was like, "Oh, you guys have a podcast?" They're like, "We do film, we do a web series." I was like, "Oh, that's awesome!" Because we worked during the end of the pandemic on a TV series. That's how we met. Because we both work for our paying 9-to-5 jobs in the industry.
That's right.
But this, I have to say, man, I really loved Moon River. Not only because you guys were kind enough to film at my house and use my place as a location, which I loved, and it looked great, but the movie itself looks really good. The quality is there. The acting is there. The humor is there. The deeply moving dramatics is there. So I really liked it. And when I started watching it, it is not at all what I was expecting, but I should have known. I should have known better.
What? I'm curious. What were you expecting?
Well, because the way you pitched it to me was this deep, dark murder mystery. And I was like, oh, you guys are doing something different. Okay. So I sat down to watch it. I was like, oh my God, it's fucking hilarious. Like this, it is it is a whodunit murder mystery, but at the same time, it's just nonstop laughs and a little bit of old school slap in there. I think I love the opening, which I won't give too much away because I think people should go and watch it. It's available right now on your channel, Really Serious Films on YouTube. But yeah, I got a crack out of it because I mean, right away with the opening scene, pitching the series within a series, and like fishing around in the water, what you find, I was like, oh yeah, that's an alien tentacle, huh?
Yeah.
I got a crack out. I was like, this is not at all. I should have known better. But I love the way that you call yourselves really serious films, and it's humor, it's comedy, but the style is serious. You guys are serious about this. Everything you make, everything you produce, I have noticed has a real beautiful quality to it. It's got heart put into it. You have the understanding of the actual I would say industry standards. Like you understand how a film should look, how it should come out. Like it doesn't look like, no offense, the way my podcast is. This is just a video recording. There's nothing fancy lit here, but you guys make it look like something I could watch on TV. Like it could be a Netflix show. It could be of quality that you would find on Hulu or Tubi, Peacock. It has real quality to it. So I think it's neat what you do with your name. And I'm sorry to ramble on. That's your job. My bad, guys.
No,
So
I
good.
love hearing it, honestly.
Yeah, thank you. And also thank you for letting us use your location. I mean, obviously in the first 5 minutes of the film, you can see like how important that location was.
Yeah,
you
that was
know?
Yeah, you
huge.
gave my one-eye cat a cameo, and I was like, "What? My cat made a
Yeah,
cameo?
yeah.
I
Oh,
didn't even see
yeah.
it coming."
That's true. It just made sense during the edit. I was like, how do we kind of get the character to travel to this, to just walk to this spot? We're like,
Yeah.
cut to some B-roll. Luckily, we got a pickup of your cat just chilling, just kind of watching Dallas do weird stuff.
And it was impressive to see. Like I feel personally that the space that you guys used, I felt was small, but it was impressive to see how you made the space look more. It looked believable. It looked big. It looked spacious, and I was impressed with that. Especially the opening party sequence. I was like, "Wow, it does look like a big backyard. That's cool."
It's a pretty big backyard. I think that's a good sized backyard.
It's a healthy backyard. And yeah, and then the party sequence, I feel like it worked great. That was a really good location for it. I think, yeah, we're very grateful that you were able to provide that. It was a huge contribution to even the making of the movie. So that was very helpful.
Yeah, like
Right.
thank you.
Well, and you guys put in a lot of hard work because, as I've stated, you do want to make features. You do make feature films and short films. You make movies and shorts, and you put time and thought and energy into it. And so it's about networking and reaching out, and that's what it was. You just simply asked, and I was like, of course, this looks like it'd be fun. Which is why, given the synopsis that you guys were pitching to me, I was like, oh, you guys are taking a serious turn. Then of course I watched the movie. And I was like, this is hilarious. This is not a deep dark drama. But it
You
was
got
really
me.
well done. Yeah, you actually got me. I should have known better. It made me laugh. And then everyone else I showed it to, we've been really enjoying it. But I would love to talk about the production itself, really serious films. Other than doing the web series, what really got you guys into doing films and comedy, especially because that's a difficult genre. I mean, they say making people, what is it, making people scared or making people cry, that can be hard, but making people laugh is the hardest thing to do. So why did you tackle this?
Oof, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, when we started making content, we were both making different web series when we first originally started. Paul had a web series called Man of Action, and then I had the Boy Talk web series, which Boy Talk before Paul was a completely different off the rails web series. If you saw season 1,
I did.
and it was madness. But growing up, I was like really obsessed with like Chris Farley, Saturday Night Live. You remember that you could always get the DVDs. It was like the best of Dan Aykroyd or the
Oh yeah, the
Unbelievable.
SNL specials. Yeah.
Yeah, I had all of those. So I always had a big, love for sketch comedy. I was part of the Second City Theater, and then
Okay.
and then we both went to China, coincidentally, in 2020. We were there to be background extras in this Chinese film, but then COVID happened. They canceled the film. And then, fast forward, we're back in LA and they quarantine everyone because of COVID. And then that was kind of the time where everyone's just twiddling their thumbs. And then me and Luke, who was my roommate at the time, started making Boy Talk. Paul started making Man of Action. And then eventually we just reached out to each other and then just joined forces. But it all really just sprouted from the pandemic.
Now, and I'm sorry because I'm going off of a memory here. Did Luke play the producer's friend / junkie character in Moon River?
No.
That was Taylor. With the
Taylor, okay. He was excellent. Love Taylor.
Yes,
He's in a lot of your
always
work too. I
enjoyed
noticed you guys work with a lot of the same people too. So
Yeah,
I think that's cool.
Well, yeah, and even to piggyback off what Dallas was just mentioning with like getting into comedy, it feels like it's also very organically rooted, and you have a group of friends, and everyone's funny, and then everyone's like, oh, it would be so funny if we were to just film the conversations that we have as a friend group because the content is just so funny. And then when you actually put a camera there, it's a completely different experience where now it's like a scripted thing. And I feel like it was almost like that same energy though. And that's even why we use a lot of the same actors, because we feel like they have an understanding of the sense of humor and the style of like performance that we're going for, where we do look for really dramatic actors and like great performers, because we feel like then when you put them in a kind of ridiculous situation, they make it really believable. So I think that helps a lot.
Yeah,
And
they don't even need to be funny. They just need to be really good dramatic actors.
yeah, and another
Yeah, I think the women that you chose that were in Moon River, there's a sequence with them driving in a car and they're all freaking out about what just happened to one of their friends that they're trying to save. And the fact that they all play it straight was just super hilarious because the situation was just absolutely ridiculous.
Right.
But it was funny. It worked. So yeah, and they were excellent. Everyone in your film was excellent. That I enjoyed them. I thought all the cast, the guys playing the FBI, your everyone in the church scene, that got me. Every time you had a funeral, that shit got me. Every time.
Pastor Nate was really good.
Yeah,
The girls
It
were
was really
amazing.
good.
Yeah, they're great. Pastor Nate was really funny. It's like I really feel like the secret of it is like writing stuff that doesn't really make sense and is kind of ridiculous, but having really great actors perform it as if it's like a life or death scene.
Yeah.
And I feel like part of the evolution into comedy as well was when I was filming Man of Action and Dallas was doing Boy Talk season one. I had basically no money to shoot Man of Action. It was during the pandemic, collecting unemployment. So we're shooting Man of Action. We're trying to make it like Mission Impossible, where it's this $100 million thing, but we're just inevitably bound by the limitations of having like a few $100s to film it,
Right.
and trying to take it completely seriously, like with no jokes or anything, and trying to do like a Mission Impossible with no money ends up like just really missing the mark completely and being like, oh yeah, like we just are falling so short of the mark trying to do something like a real high caliber action movie. And then at one point we like Dallas got cast in Man of Action around like episode 5, and he almost took it so seriously that he like made it seem like, oh, these people might actually think they're shooting Mission Impossible, even though it's like clearly not. They have no money. Like they're shooting this like in like apartments and stuff. But Dallas and played it as if this was like a Tom Cruise movie, like all the
Yeah.
way
He
through.
was Tom
And I was like,
Cruise.
oh, that kind of saved Man of Action in a way, because it was like if people like take it seriously, it's like then you kind of grade it on like how good is it actually, but then it was a level of taking it so seriously that it was like this intense thing that it became like a complete joke of like, okay, this is almost just a little bit past the line to where you're like, they can't be serious with this. And I feel like that style was very forgiving with our amount of budget that we had to shoot things. Was where like if we are self-aware that we don't have a large budget for these things, but we know that and we all play it as if it's this huge scale Hollywood movie that's like the most dramatic scene of someone's life. We're
You
like,
mean how you pitched it to me when you went to film in my backyard?
yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
yes, yes.
But even if you watch all the performances, like no one's giving that kind of like over the top, goofy, silly performance. Like everyone's
No, not at
giving
all. Yeah.
like their Daniel Day Lewis, there will be blood moment in Moon River. It just happens that Daniel Day Lewis is in a class of like fourth graders, and and he just like broke his pencil and is having like a complete mental breakdown.
Yeah.
It was like that
Uh,
contrast. We're like, okay, that we feel like is a style that we really enjoy, and we're constantly trying to like articulate it and get as much clarity on it as we can with every single project.
but yeah, so I really appreciate you guys sharing with me a little bit about your process, what got you into this, what inspired you, the fun world of COVID. I say with irony because it ruined so much, but yet a lot of creators found creativity during that time. Because what else are you going to do? Sit on your ass and do nothing? No, be creative. Take advantage of those opportunities. It's what I did during the strike as well. When if you for those of us who worked in the industry, we had that big strike and All right. Well, I'm not going to sit on my ass and wait for something. I'm going to try and be creative and do what I can do. But speaking of being creative and all that fun stuff, tell me a little bit about Moon River. We've been talking about it, but what is Moon River? What's the synopsis here, and who stars in this?
Dallas stars in this. Moon River is a story about a character, Richard Waters. He's an aspiring journalist. And after the death of two high school students, the town of Glendale all decides that Richard Waters is the most likely suspect. So then everyone turns on him, and then now it's Richard's responsibility to solve the murder so he can clear his name.
Nice. And the way you say that, you make it sound so sweet and dark and gloomy and deep dramatics, but there's a ton of humor in this. Let's not forget that.
Yeah.
Um, so I had mentioned earlier, I praised you guys for the quality of film, and not just with Moon River. As I stated, you've done other short films. Not boy talk aside, except for season 3, you have really great quality. The camera looks good, the shots look good, they're lit well, the actors are amazing. These actors that you guys get, they're incredible. They do such a great job, and to work with you guys, they got to be crazy. So I just want to know. What is your process like when putting all this together? Can you take us through a bit of a walkthrough of the production of Moon River? Just give us the
Yeah.
highlights.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of it for us is just this constant repetition of like shooting video after video after video and then gradually refining everything, which even includes the actors, where we've had actors just no call, no show. We've had actors show up late. Like, we've worked with so many actors over the years that eventually we find actors that are really good that just stick. They get it. They're great actors. They're professional. But we've probably worked with like over 100 different actors over the last few years. So even an acknowledgement to them, it's like when you see these great actors, just know that that's out of like maybe a group of 100. Here's like the handful of people who we keep calling back because they keep doing great work. They take it seriously. They're professional. They show up prepared and they follow through with what they say they're going to do. Yeah, like a lot of the actors, they're great, but I feel like it's through the repetition of shooting so many projects that we're kind of constantly being able to feed actors a lot of roles over the years. So then it kind of builds this loyalty as well as this mutual beneficial thing where, hey, you guys, you're great actors. You guys come through. Like, we'll keep giving you roles. We'll keep basically like building reels. Like, I think a lot of actors could build their entire reels just off stuff that we've shot, and that's our goal as well. Is to like provide them with great quality content. And even like when other people shoot films, like they don't get the footage back for like months. And for us, it's like the second the movie's released, we're like, yeah, here's the footage to everybody. Here's a copy of the poster. It's updated on IMDb very quickly, thanks to Taylor Box. Like, it's just these basic things that we do that we're always so confused that like other productions aren't doing this. Like, they're like withholding the footage from something for like a really long time. And I'm like, why not just give it to an actor who like could use it on their reel? Like, that could help them book more work.
Or promote their
Yeah,
project.
Yeah, and even
absolutely.
we're cutting reels as well for social media, and we're giving those like very soon after the movie's released. So I feel like it's very beneficial even for an actor to come and work with us. We're like, yeah, we'll set it up with like a lot of footage, some stills, posters, IMDb credits, social media content, and I feel like we're good at delivering those to people once the movie's done. So I feel like that helps with why we're able to, keep a lot of really good actors as well. Yeah, and then even in terms of video quality and lighting, I think one of the things we did that's very untraditional was when we fundraised for the movie, we used that money to purchase gear. Whereas a lot of people like hold the gear or they'll fundraise the money and then they'll rent the gear. And
Yeah.
then they'll rent it. And then, yeah, we were just like, no, if we purchase this with money that we just fundraised, we can use it for every project moving forward. Whereas like otherwise they're hiring crew, they're renting gear, they're renting all this stuff, and then once the project's done, they're kind of back to square one. Whereas like
Yeah.
for us, after we fundraise, we invested in a new camera, for example, and now it's like great. Now we have that for every future project that we use.
Well, and it's also smart because you guys didn't just invest in your film, you invested in your production and your company, what you're trying to do. You invested in really serious films, and this allows you not only opportunities to create content whenever you want, whenever you're ready, and your actors are available, but to rent out to other people as an option to make income on the side if you need. So you don't have to crowdsource again. You're like, hey, we need a little money. It's like, who's looking to rent? Like that's smart. I think that's brilliant that you took a chance and really invested in your production. So that you want to take
Yeah.
it somewhere. Like I said, you guys may be humorous, but I think the title Really Serious Films really stands by what you guys do. You are a serious production group.
Really
That's how I
serious.
Believe
feel.
it or not, we are. We try.
Yeah.
um so you mentioned crowdsourcing and using the funds that you raised to go into funding equipment. um did you feel that you were able to get a really good thing out of crowdsourcing? Do you feel like, as indie filmmakers out there, crowdsourcing is a good option? Probably the only option for some folks.
Yeah, I think so because even in terms of our annual income as a production company, it's like our largest stream of income ever has been the one time we've crowdfunded. So we also have a Patreon, patreon.com/really serious films. And like that's been very good for just consistent income, but the most we've ever gotten was from crowdfunding.
Hmm.
And then it's even interesting that you mentioned, like, yeah, we're making investments kind of as a business, and we're also working full time. Like, this is very much something that we're doing. Like, I have like a 50-hour work week, and then after work, it's like we're just, I'm calling Dallas on the way to work, calling after work. We're meeting up every single weekend. So it's like we're really putting in a lot of extra effort for this, and we've been consistent with that for so long. And I feel like that's one thing as well is like
Hmm.
we've given it so much time to be able to evolve. And we've also been really consistent. Like Boy Talk season 2 to season 3, I think it was like in 2021 or 2022. Like we filmed like 43 out of 52 weekends. Like we were just
Wow.
out there every weekend, and like a lot of times there was a lot of moments where it's like Thursday or Friday before a shoot and we're like, yeah, we probably shouldn't shoot tomorrow because this actor canceled, or we don't have money for this, or whatever the obstacle was. And we were just like, yeah, let's just try it. And if it just crashes and burns, like at least we get a lot of data and feedback from that to then
Yeah.
continue building with moving forward. And I feel like a big part of why, at least for us, we're very happy with the result of Moon River was because we had so much trial and error years and years beforehand of just basically just fucking up so many days of shooting.
Yeah.
Like we've just fucked up
The
hundreds
best
of
way to
days of
learn.
right. That like finally when we get to Moon River, we've done a lot of the preliminary mistakes. We've already gotten those out of the way.
Yeah.
And we would talk about it all the time where we're like, oh, this happened to us. And I say, even with things that are currently happening to us, we're like, we're very glad that it's happening. And we're very grateful to have these problems happen to us because anyone else who's trying to shoot anything, they're going to encounter the same obstacles. Like if they haven't encountered these obstacles yet, they will eventually if they keep going. And we're just grateful that we're like, okay, cool. Now we're getting to a point where here's the problems that we're having. Like that's very good. And then we figure out a way to solve it, keep moving forward. And another thing is like, I we Dallas and I say this to each other all the time, where we're like this, like when we hit certain issues and problems with filmmaking, we're like, this is where we think a lot of people would just quit. We think this is where a lot of people would say, oh yeah, this one thing like now stop the production from happening because X, Y, and Z happened. And we talk about it all the time. We're like, this is probably when most people would be like, yeah, this is too hard and it's not worth it, and we just don't feel like doing it anymore. And that's when we're like, okay, so we know that's a sign for us to like, we've got to push through for sure.
Got to get creative, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
You figure it
just,
out.
yeah, just find a
um,
solution and just keep going.
I like that, you guys you're hitting these walls and finding these solutions. And with Moon River being a big budget, as I mentioned, you've done other shorts as well. You've done other features, and they kind of cover all different genres of film. Like you guys did a short a few months back called The City of Noir, I believe. And that has this really cool black and white, Casablanca style feel to it. And then you recently released one that I thought was absolutely hilarious. It reminded me of Monty Python, which was 6 Days on Foot. One of the funniest things I've watched. No offense to Moon River, but I'm a fan of Python, so like I saw what I felt was something influenced by. If it wasn't, then you guys just are brilliant. But I felt there was some influence there. But what I'm getting to with this is, you've worked really hard at not only establishing reliable actors that want to come back and work with you, but you've clearly established a crew. I know that there are some behind the scenes people that I had the opportunity to meet when you guys came over to film, and they're all incredibly kind. They're really smart. They love what they're doing, and talking to them, they share the same passions that you guys share. So building that crew and building the cast and that company that you're building, what was it like trying to build that groundwork? What was your best approach to this? How did you find people of similar passion?
It's a long, hard journey.
Yeah, I mean, when it started out, again, it was just like Paul and I, and then like we would just reach out to whatever actors that there was, and it was, just to piggyback back to what Paul was saying, how like certain actors just started to stick, and then those same actors that started to stick, like for instance, like a Taylor Box or a Trent Longo, they kind of just eventually moved in and started helping us out with crew stuff. And then, some of them we've just been collaborating with for so long that they kind of just became the gang, of everyone working together. And then just through different jobs here and there throughout the 3 years of us making content together is when we've had other people come in and help out with crew. But it's just been a long, slow process of different people just coming into our lives, and this person sticks, same as casting, but
Right.
very tight. It's a very small group, if you noticed, like the behind the scenes crew.
Yeah. But you guys, you operate on a professional level. You treat my experience with you was you treated everything very professionally. You guys brought a crafty setup. You had snacks and drinks for people. You had, we made sure that there was restrooms and access to places, so that like, hey, while you're waiting, do this. You kept people on a schedule. There was a call sheet. Like, you have everything done on a very professional Hollywood standard level, which I really admire, because that helps everything function and flow the best that it can. And of course, we do what we know, and working in the industry, we know how these things operate. My other question for you too, as far as crew goes, is all these different style of films that you've done and shorts that you've done, the costumes are incredible. How do you who's your costumer? Where do you get access to all these outfits? Because I'm looking at it, I'm like, how did he find that cool trench coat? How did they get this medieval garb get up that looks so well crafted? Like, did you go to a Ren fair? Like, where are you getting this access to all these great costumes? Like, there's detail in everything you do. It's not just the camera and the lights and the actors. Like, you have detail for everything. So I'm just curious, who do we give thanks to for costumes?
Jeff Bezos.
Yeah.
It's all Amazon, son of a bitch.
Yeah, like we order all of it on Amazon, and then we, like 6 Days by Foot, for example, we ordered I think $1,200 worth of costumes and set deck and props, and then we just returned all of it right after.
Unfortunately, nothing fit, so we had no choice but to return.
Right.
Understood.
To be
But
honest,
that's smart. That's smart marketing. So you guys are the customers then. So you know the look and style you're going for.
Yeah, and it would be really nice to have somebody eventually doing wardrobe, but a lot of the problems that we run into is like having people volunteering for like a full day of work, where like it's nice occasionally when people want to do that, but then if people are there like frequently volunteering and they're just like crew, we're like, no, they should be like getting paid. Like we know that's the right thing to do, would be to like pay the crew, but we're also like, we just don't have money to pay a crew. So as much as possible, we're just trying to go with like basically no crew, because we're like, we can't treat the crew the way they should be treated, where we're like paying them and feeding them and they're there for all day. We're just like we'd just be asking such a big favor from people that a lot of times like the people who end up being on the crew are people who reach out to us and are like, hey, I just want to like help out, and we're like, okay, but we really can't give you anything. Like,
just so you know,
like we're shooting this whole thing for like a few $100s, and then everything we're spending, we're also getting refunded on because we're returning on Amazon. Like, our budget for a lot of projects is like a few $100s, like at most.
Mainly just for crafty, because like everything else is like, especially with the short films, we're just trying to like save as much money as possible and create content with the short film. So it's like Most of the time, it's a free location. All the props, wardrobe, it's all Amazon. So we get it, we return it. So the only thing that really actually costs money is like snacks and food. And believe me, if we could return the leftover food, we would.
Right. Every penny counts. Well,
All
and
right.
that's something I was going to say too, is like, as someone myself, who is trying with a group of my friends to get a project very similar to what you guys did, make a pitch, put out the crowdsource to get funding to do a full feature, going through all that. When you guys originally reached out to me before you started filming everything and asked like, hey, can we, you asked me about location stuff because of my job as a location manager, but I happen to have a place that you were possibly looking at. You came over, you scouted, you told me up front everything like, hey, we can't obviously pay for anything. And it's like, I just want to see your process. And you guys were kind enough to let me just hang out and shadow, and I didn't interfere. I just walked around, observed, talked to everyone you were working with, just got the vibe of everything. And I really loved that attitude that was carried, because it allowed me to see like, these guys are doing it. And if they can do it, I can do it. Anyone out there listening, if these guys can do it, trust me, you can do it too. They're really serious about that. and,
Yeah.
and I love that attitude. I like that atmosphere that you created, and opening up and talking to me about like being honest about things. Like, this is what we want. This is what we're looking for, and this is how we're trying to go about it. So it was really cool being able to pick your brains on that stuff. And I found that inspiring, because you were smart. You're like, you mentioned, like, we can't pay people certain things. So we do what we can to make them happy to be there. We don't have these long, crazy hours. Like, yeah, you were at my house because you took advantage of that time to film multiple things, but your actors came at different periods. I think when you guys filmed that big party scene, you had showed up at my house at like, what, 8 a.m, but that party scene, you didn't have people start showing up to about 4 or 5. And as soon as the sun went down at 7, camera was rolling. No time was wasted. You guys wrapped and cleaned up and got out of my house by, I think it was 10:30. It was wild. And it was impressive to see that you got everything you needed and you did not waste any time. And that's something I want people out there listening, as indie filmmakers. Don't waste your time and don't waste the opportunities. And that's something I learned from you guys. So that's helped me when gearing up with my friends to do our project. Is like, hey, these guys, they ran a tight ship like this. And I really like that structure and format that they put into it.
Mm.
How do you coordinate all that?
Oh man.
We're definitely very organized. I think it comes down to like the repetition of it and having done it like so many times, doing like web series. And then we're also working on like actual studio productions and being like, okay, here's kind of how they format it and structure it. What can we incorporate from that? And then just constantly field testing it like over and over and over again.
Trial and error.
Yeah, and just
Yeah.
making a ton of mistakes, like to the point where now it's very formulaic, where we're like, okay, cool, here's a call sheet template, here's the email we send out with preliminary details the Sunday before a shoot, like here's how we communicate with the actors. Here now we even have like an online casting database using this program called Airtable. It's slowly evolved, and I feel like it's really through just constantly field testing everything and just breaking shit 100 times. Yeah, and then also not being very precious about the end result. We're kind of like leaning on our skills more than we are like hoping that we just hit it perfectly in that moment. We're kind of like, if we're doing enough movies to the point where we're experienced filmmakers, like we'll be able to, almost like a golfer who just has like hit a ball like 10,000 times, like they could just kind of walk up, do their routine, and just hit the ball, you know? And I feel like that just comes through the repetition. So even still, like we're still doing a bunch of short films as we're leading up to prep for our first feature film, our first like 90 to 100-minute film. We're still doing short films along the way because, like you mentioned earlier, where City of No Pity is a noir, 6 Days by
Yeah,
Foot is
City of
kind
No
of like a
Pity.
Monty Python thing. Like we get to experiment with all these different styles and different genres, and even having the actors play different characters and see where their strengths are, shooting it in different ways, like handheld versus tripod versus green screen versus like what can we do with visual effects. Like we just get to test so many different things that then when we go into like a larger project, we're kind of accumulating all of the things we think we can do pretty well or we feel pretty confident with, and then we'll stick to those things for the larger projects. But we keep shooting short films along the way just to test stuff and just to experiment with stuff, and also to like stay fresh, and just and keep refining that style and continuously like building and gaining the experience with it, and even promoting it online that like, hey, we're still here, you know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we're still
And
going, you know.
that marketing, that social media presence is tough too. We talked about the pre-production. We talked about getting everyone together, crowdsourcing to get it financed, so you could really go out there and start, filming this. The equipment that you invested into with your crowdsourcing, so that you didn't have to rent it. You bought this. This is yours now, and you can continue making more products. And it feels like people that invested in this, they also believe in what you're doing, so it's going to benefit them as well, because they're going to get more product from you. They're going to get more, awesome shows and shorts and movies to watch. When you're done with the filming aspects of everything, what is your post-production like? For anyone out there that's making film, do you have a recommendation? Obviously, feel free to discuss what you use as editing, the kind of software people should look into, because I guess a question behind that question is also, does the type of camera really matter, or can you just have something of any sort, even if it's an iPhone, and give it the quality it needs and have a good editing software?
Ooh, can I start that one out?
Yeah. And I hope
Most of
that
the
question made
editing,
sense. I'm sorry.
yeah. There's a lot to tackle there. Paul pretty much handles all of the editing. He's the editing wizard. But to piggyback off of the last part of your question, which was you literally don't need anything special, because like Boy Talk season 1, for instance, was I had an iPhone 7 at the time, and
Oh, wow.
it was filmed on an iPhone, and then we edited everything on Adobe Premiere Pro, a program that we still use to this day. Obviously, we've upgraded cameras now ever since, but you really don't need anything. Everyone has the camera in their pocket. They can start filming right now, and majority of the things that you film for the first couple videos, it's just going to suck. But eventually, it's going to start sucking less. And with the repetition of us, we've been filming now for like 4 years, and like he said, we filmed like 43 weekends in like 2022. That means that was like 43 different film shoots that we had. So like so many reps, so, and just slowly upgrading from that iPhone original style to getting to a place now where it's just kind of like a system.
Yeah, and then we use Adobe Premiere, and the main programs that I'm using is Adobe Premiere, obviously for all the editing. I just don't even go into After Effects. I did before, but it was just so time consuming, and it would just take like hours to do like a 5-second explosion sequence. So part of it as well is like we're writing things from the perspective of the editor, because I know the hardest part of it is like when it's just me alone in front of a computer with like hours of footage, and I'm just like, like this is so. But a lot of times, so we're shooting a lot of things to make that edit as fun as possible and as simple as possible, because that just is like such a huge potential bottleneck in the entire operation.
Yeah,
So
no
now,
wasted time.
yeah, and it's also just like if the edit is fun, then it's a lot easier to finish these projects. But like in the early days of it, like we didn't even know how to use white balance, and we were shooting stuff on a green screen, and an actor would move a little bit, and the auto white balance would then change the shade of green from the green screen. And we were like, what? Why is it halfway through this clip the green screen just stops working? Like this is, it was just so many of those like basic things. And even when we started shooting, it was like, I mean, Dallas is using a cell phone, and then I just bought like a camera, a Sony A7 III, and we just turned it on. It was on the auto settings, and we would just shoot. Like I didn't know what ISO was. I didn't know what shutter speed was. I didn't know what exposure was. I didn't know what f-stop was. I didn't know what focal lengths meant. Like we just turned on the camera. It was on the auto settings, and we just started. And then eventually, I would get feedback from people like, "Hey, Paul, I think your shutter speed is wrong." And I'm like, "I'm sure it is. Like, can you what should I set it as? Like, I don't know." And then the editing, I feel like, has just been like the backbone of everything.
Oh yeah.
And that's something that I feel like a lot of people run into problems because they don't want to sit behind the editor. Like, and they're also probably not very organized with their edits, where we're like really, really organized with our edits, where we've got like folders and bins for every single scene. Like if you saw like one of our Premiere files, you'd be like, oh, this makes sense of how to shoot a 40-minute movie. Like if we're not organized with that stuff, like if I'm downloading music and it's not in a project folder designated for just the soundtrack, and instead it's in like my downloads folder, and then I bring that hard drive to Dallas to like plug in to export for something, and now he doesn't have that file because we didn't put it on the hard drive in the music folder. We just had it downloaded on our computer. Like, it's just these really basic things that like we've messed up so many times that now we're like, here's the form, here's the way we do it, because it keeps all of it organized and in one place, and we don't run into those very, very avoidable issues. And then, yeah, I think a lot of people too, like, just don't want to sit and edit and learn this thing. And I feel like since we got to a point where we're like, if we don't edit it, it's probably not going to get made.
Yeah.
So like we didn't have an option. We just had to start editing because nobody else is going to do it for us. And we didn't have the money to pay people. And even when we did pay people, like, we couldn't pay them enough to care. You know what I mean? Like, we would give them money to just complete it, but then we're like, oh, there's just so many problems with the edit, but we barely are paying this person to edit it. So like, what, we can't ask for much. Then it was like, oh no, if we do it ourselves, we can keep the exact style that we want, the tone we want, the music choices that we want, like all of it. And I feel like that, then we're basically like writing from perspective of the editing, where we're like reverse engineering these movies to be like, here's how we can shoot a car chase scene from the editor's chair of like, how could we, what capabilities do we have in post-production to make that look real, or what look do we even want to achieve if we don't even want it to look real, if we want it to look like completely fake, like how would we even do that? So
Right.
even
I think a lot of people, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's all good.
I was gonna say, I think a lot of people overlook editing in general. They all think, oh, I want to direct, I want to be the director, I want to be the head honcho. And it's like, well, editor and director should go hand in hand. And honestly, a lot of good directors are their own editors. And a lot of good directors in the studio world of the industry come from the editing room because they have that eye, like you've learned, Paul, you've had that understanding and that learning of like, oh, this is how this will work. So now when you're ready to go into that project, you have that mindset of like, all right, we want to film this, but from the editing chair, it's got to be this way. So that's very clever and it's smart to know. And it's just something that everyone should be aware of, that a director and an editor, in my humble opinion, should go hand in hand. They really should.
Yep.
I think we tie that all together, even like I'm even shooting it too. And Dallas and I are writing it. So it's like, it's not that I feel like we're really strong in any area, but the fact that we're pretty good in all areas, we can just create such like a seamless kind of tone and vision for a lot of stuff, because it's like Dallas and I are writing it together. Dallas is then also acting in it. I'm directing it and shooting it, knowing what I'll need in the edit, and then Dallas and I are both editing it together, like making music choices and cutting things in a certain way at a certain time. So I feel like that helps a lot, is that we're not delegating so much of it to other people where we're like, we hope that they get what we're going for. You know, we're just kind of like, no, we get to really do it exactly the way we want to do it. But also that comes with a price of like, if we were to do, like, if we do it exactly the way we want to do it, it's not like, we really don't make a lot of money off of all of our films. Like, we both work full time and then we're making these on the side. But we believe that in the long term of it, if people hire us to do a show or a commercial or a movie, they would do it because they like our unique voices and our unique styles. And then we would get to that.
Sorry, I was interjecting again. You've also gotten to a level where you have a reel now to showcase that you are worth hiring as well. You're worth bringing on to these projects. You know, speaking of everything that you've been doing and the finance aspect of it all, having raised, you know, crowdsource and raised funds to invest in yourselves, a lot of it, as you mentioned, has come out of your own pocket. But do you feel at this point, with really serious films and where you guys are, that the investment you put in is either starting to pay out now, or do you feel strongly that down the road it will pay out for you to start making revenue?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Not too much revenue in the current season, but I think just like the consistent aspect of it, like the revenue it'll come, hopefully.
Well, also, I mean, I definitely think we would say this a lot where we're like, when we were filming Boy Talk, we're like, Boy Talk isn't paying us directly, but it's helping us make a lot of money, because even just the reputation that it gives us around town, where people are like, oh, these guys are serious, like they're putting out content. I think Dallas has booked a ton of additional acting roles because he's got so much, not only the footage, but the actual on camera experience. Where it's like now versus other actors, it's like, well, this dude's done probably 300 more days on camera than like a lot of other actors. Like that's just experience that you have to just go through to get good at. And then I think it gives us a lot of content, which allows us to market ourselves a lot. And I feel like a lot of jobs that we get, I mean, even the show that we worked on, we got because somebody knew us from, it was somebody we had worked on with the web series who then worked with somebody who worked on set for that show that for the show that we worked on, and then they hired us through that. So it was like we never got paid directly through our content, but because we were making content, it helped us build our network. It helped us build a reputation for like, hey, these people, they do what they say they're going to do. And then that led to us getting a lot of different jobs in the industry and for Dallas acting roles and for me, just other gigs on set. Even my current job I got because someone's like, yeah, this guy's like, they're shooting films. They know how to do it. They should come and work here. You know,
That's awesome. So the investment really is paying off.
yeah,
I love hearing that.
But even with that, like we're really not. We don't put too much money out of our own pockets into it. Like we even budget that to where we were previously like we'll give $100 a month to Really Serious, but like Really Serious has to grow on its own. Like we can't just be putting thousands and thousands of our own dollars into this, not making any money back, because then we would just be, for lack of a better term, we would just be broke. And now we're broke because this thing that we love just like robbed us. Yeah. You know what I mean?
You're building a production empire. You're building a production company. You want it to grow. And those little investments and time and resource and the right people in the right positions get you where you need. And what I've seen that's been released, the content still comes out. You have a lot of content on the website, on YouTube especially. You just released the full feature Moon River. You just about I want to say a week and a half ago, as of this recording, released a brand new short, 6 Days Afoot. You have all these other shorts that are on there, like The City of Pity. So like slowly taking your time, investing good quality films also helps you grow as well. Like you said, just a little bit at a time. That's smart.
But even City of No Pity, I think how much, like I think we maybe spent like $250 on City of No Pity. 6 Days by Foot, I think we did for $150.
Yeah.
6 Days by Foot for $150 is an insanely. I would have said you dropped 10 grand on it. Just the quality alone and how it looks. Wow. Yes, it's very professionally done. That's something that like most people would try and raise 10 grand, but you already have a crew, you have a network, you have people that are helping you do that. And that's what I want to point out to folks that are out there in the independent filmmaking world, is that like, you don't have to have thousands and thousands of dollars to put something really good together. You just need to have the right people, the right connection, the right crew. You need to know who should go where and do what. And clearly for $150, go out there and look at 6 Days on Foot. It may not be your kind of humor, but just watch it and see the pieces that fall together and how seamlessly done it is, in my humble opinion. So maybe I'm a little biased. I don't know.
And even the whole crew is me, Dallas, Trent and Taylor, and then Kyoki, who was also an actor. And so it was 3 actors, Trent, Taylor, Kyoki, and then just me and Dallas. Like that was,
it was like, yeah, Paul was directing it. He was filming it. He also had the audio connected to the camera, so we didn't have to have a sound guy. So I think what allows us to like move so fast and pump out so many movies is that we don't have a crew. It's literally Paul and I. And he's literally doing audio, directing, and filming, and I'm like doing grip, I'm doing gaffer, I'm acting. so we don't, it's
props, wardrobe.
Yeah.
I already mentioned how impressed I was with the wardrobe now that we know it was Amazon. But even the audio, the fact that you had a microphone attached to the camera when I was listening to it, because I watched it on my TV in my living room, and like the audio came out of my speakers and I could perfectly hear clearly in stereo. So it sounded as if you had someone booming it. So you were just really good with the edit, I guess. You cleaned up your audio very well. Whatever you did, it worked because you put the time into it to make it have that professional setting, the professional style. And I appreciate hearing that, because now I'm getting a little bit more peek behind what you guys do. And again, hearing that you can do it, you guys, anyone out there wanting to be a filmmaker can do what you do. You just got to put the time and the effort in, trial and error,
Yeah,
and clearly keep investing in yourselves. It's worth it.
yeah. Just keep shooting. I feel like it's like a lot of people. I mean, we started off as doing a lot of background work. Like that was like the root. I mean, I was an extra for 4 years, where like my main stream of income was literally working as an extra. And
So a
I
lot
feel
of
like
people start. I was a
oh
PA
yeah,
for 8. I understand your pain. I worked with you guys probably at some point, just forgot, because everything becomes the same after a while. You forget what you've worked on.
Oh
right.
yeah.
But it's like we would always hear people on set, and they're like, "Yeah, like I'm going to do my first feature. I just need $250,000." And I remember just being like, "Okay, good luck." You know what I mean? And then
That'll
we
sit
have
on the shelf.
right, yeah, exactly. And then we would Dallas and I have like a lot of these like very sober, honest conversations about like it's crickets for funding most of the times. Like we don't know. Even pitching Boy Talk, we're like, where do we go to even pitch it? Like who's going to purchase it, and also who's just going to invest like $6 million in us? Like it's just all these things that's like, yeah, it sounds really nice, but then even getting there is like, I don't know how much credibility we need to the point where they would just give us like $6 million. Like if I was going to give somebody $6 million to do a show, I'd be like, they better like, I can't just take a gamble on it,
I want to see a reel or something.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
want to see. But I feel like for a lot of people, it was like their first project they won $250,000 for, and I'm like, man, we filmed this web series for literally zero, like for years. And even Moon River was was the biggest budget we've ever worked with, which was $11,000.
It's
And
incredible.
the next closest thing was maybe $1,500. Like all of our shorts we're filming very, very, very inexpensively and it's like, I don't know, it feels like there's this thing about how there's so much money, like you just got to know the right person, and they'll just give you $500,000. And I'm like, all right, like, well, where are they?
Yeah,
like,
I want to meet them.
Yeah, like, can you send us their contact info? Like, yeah, we'd love to get $250,000 or $500,000. But for us, it's been just this very bootstrap, like uphill, steep incline, just trek. And it really doesn't get much easier. It's just that we're just used to kind of the, the altitude and the elements of just like sweating and being tired and just constantly just pushing through.
Yeah. Hey, just taking a quick break. This has been an awesome conversation so far. Both Dallas and Paul are incredible to talk to, and they were kind enough to let me show you guys a trailer for Moon River right here on IPA Sessions. Go over to their YouTube channel, Really Serious Films, and watch the full feature. And of course, stick around for an incredible conversation after this.
I'm Richard Waters, and I encourage you to keep digging, keep exploring, stay on the quest for truth.
That's a wrap on our first day of filming.
Peter. Peter?
Peter!
And our condolences go out to his family.
I want the person who killed my brother to pay.
I'm beginning to suspect that there's a killer on the loose.
Who do you think it could be?
I know Richard was the only one there when Peter's body was found.
I don't know what to do.
This whole thing is stressful and you're not making it any easier.
I can't fit into this box you're trying to put me in.
He's right there!
I'm taking bullets and drop this guy into the river! Somebody call 911!
I think you're so smart because you can read?
Brad?
Not anymore.
Oh my god, oh my god!
I gotta figure out who killed Peter and James, or they're gonna think that it was me.
This one's for you, Peter! Yeah!
In a world where mystery lurks around every corner.
Action. It's action and it's also sex, says Gary Garcia about the Moon River documentary on Entertainment Now. Sarah Silverback at the New York Tribune says, I don't know if I just watched the documentary or if I just got laid.
Guys, I really, really appreciate y'all coming on today. Thank you for taking time and really walking us through the crazy, wild world of independent filmmaking. And as someone who's not only making independent films, but really trying to establish your own production company, your own style, your own brand, I want to ask you guys some fun questions now, and you both are welcome to answer. If you disagree, give me a different answer. That's fine. There's no right or wrong to this. I just want people to know your personal experience. So my first question for you both, and this is related to, I want to say, to filmmaking in general, not just Moon River, but everything that you've been doing. I want to know, what's the biggest challenge that you had to overcome? And it could be something that you guys are still working on. What's a huge challenge for you as filmmakers?
Money.
Yeah, I feel like we answered that, didn't we?
Money is like literally it. I mean, we have enough systems in place now that we just know the formula of like how to make a movie from like the initial idea to like uploading the final export. Like we've just done that so many times. We got that. We have just such big ideas for like some of these movies. We're like, we should get like a car chase, and then like we drop kick this dude out a window, and then he explodes, and then we're like, okay, it's really funny, but like we don't have the money to do that. So then we're like, okay, what's the free version? Okay, that's still funny. Maybe not. We're not scratching that itch as much, but yeah, money, 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 money.
Yeah, I don't even think there's an argument to be made there. I think money is a huge challenge for any filmmaker. As we discussed, investing in yourself, investing in the equipment, whether you're going to rent or own. So yeah. As filmmakers who have been doing this for a while, you discussed your history of being background actors and working on sets and studios, being working actors, getting auditions on shows and other people's film projects, creating your own works. You've been doing this for a good minute now. For sure, we know the last 4 to 5 years. Actively making your own feature projects and short films. So you kind of have a vibe, you kind of have this understanding. As Paul said earlier, there's a trial and error. You learn as you go. I think at this point, you've started to really understand what to expect when you're making a project. But what is something unexpected that you've encountered? And maybe it was something that you learned in the moment, like, oh, I didn't see this coming.
I mean, just to think about the first thing that comes to mind, if I'm being completely honest, is like, for instance, when we filmed at your house, everything was going good. You obviously let us use your location for free. We spent money on Crafty, and it was a big day. We had a lot of scenes, and we went through the scenes. Everything was going good. And then there was an actor, and we wanted him to break dance in one of the scenes. And this guy is a professional dancer. And we're like, what could go wrong? This is going to be great. This dude's going to break dance in the scene. And then we're filming the scene. The dude starts break dancing, and then he dislocated his knee. And then technically, it's like he dislocated his knee on our film shoot. He didn't volunteer. He didn't just start breakdancing. We asked him to do that. So it was our fault that this dude now has a dislocated knee. We don't have the money to pay for this. So that was just like a complete thing of like, okay, how do we even start to solve this problem? And luckily the actor, we helped him get into that room you're in right now, and he chilled out for a little bit, and it ended up not being anything too serious. But had it been something serious, that would have been another problem that we would have had to learn how to solve. But yeah, stuff like that. And like another instance, when we were filming Boy Talk season 3, there was an actor that was driving a motorcycle. And again, we're talking about days of no money, bone dry. And this actor had a motorcycle, and we're like, oh, it'd be really cool if you entered the scene on a motorcycle. And then we had this like girl that was supposed to be like a warrior princess, and she was going to be coming into the scene on the back of the motorcycle with the dude. He pulls up in the scene. She's getting off the motorcycle, but the way she's getting off causes the driver to like lose balance. Motorcycle tips over. They both fall off, and then the peg to the motorcycle broke off. Just a peg. You're like, okay, that can't be that much of an expense. And it was like, $150 or whatever. So,
hey, but $150 to us is $150. That's a lot.
it is. And it's really just like, okay, if with every film shoot, you just have to like account one or two things are just going to come out of nowhere, and they're going to go south, and you're going to have to deal with them. And the solution to pretty much everything is money. So you really gotta. I think the underlying lesson here is that you need to have an emergency fund for shoots, like an X amount of cash for like, oh, something's gonna happen. Something happens. Okay, thank God we have this cash. Boom, boom, boom. Problem solved.
Insurance.
Yes.
So the unexpected thing is that kind of shit. So make sure you have insurance to cover those unexpected moments.
One word. Just
Because
and
it's
everything
filmmaking,
else.
anything can happen. You know, I've done stuff where like I've seen stuntmen on professional Hollywood sets. These guys do insanely crazy shit. We had an amazing stunt woman on the show, Crystal, who took us through the world of stunts, and even she said that there are all these awesome all these awesome sequences of action, flying, jumping, flipping around, stuff that you do, sword fighting, fist fighting. You know, you take all these extreme steps of safety to make sure no one is seriously or grievously injured. But a stuntman could be just simply walking to set, trip over a cord, knee is dislocated, foot's broken. That's it. So like these things happen. Having that insurance will cover your ass.
Yeah.
It's unexpected. Like that's the thing too, is like I ask this question a lot, and I'm hoping the listeners understand, especially when it comes to the filmmaking world, you should always expect the unexpected. And by that, just be prepared. So having insurance, having a small bit of fun to the side, knowing your local emergency center that's closest to you is good. That's always good to like, where are you filming? What's the closest hospital? Have that information ready. It's just good to have, because you rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
Yeah. Amen.
You know, there are things that in this world that are just, they're a fact of life. It's not an opinion. It is a hard, cold reality. There is nothing you can do about it. You cannot change it. You just have to figure out how to work with it or work around it. And I want to ask you guys, what is a hard reality that you have both had to deal with and accept? And it could be something that you're still dealing with, but what's a hard reality for you as filmmakers?
That your film's probably not going to go viral.
That's fair. I like that. I mean, yeah, because I mean, viral it's unpredictable. Like, who knows what people like or don't like? Sometimes the stupidest shit I've seen go viral, and I'm like, I don't understand what's happening here. And then other times I've seen stuff that's just incredible, and no one knows about it.
Yeah, we're experiencing that right now, kind of with Moon River.
It is incredible, and more people need to know about it. Links are in the show notes. If you're listening, stop listening right now, or if you're watching on YouTube, just click on that link and go to Really Serious Films and watch Moon River.
Watch Moon River. Do it right now.
Yep.
Wow, I think these are the shortest and best answers I've ever had when asking these questions. But moving along, I want to ask you guys, what is the most valuable takeaway that you've gained from this experience? You know, something that's helped you both grow and improve as artists, improve as filmmakers and actors.
Oh man, I think just the confidence of knowing, like, okay, now we've made a movie. Like Moon River is a movie. We can do it. We have the skills within us to write a good movie, to put together a good movie, to edit a good movie. Like, just like the confidence of knowing, like, oh yeah, we can do it. We just did it. Like, now let's go step it up a notch. So just like the confidence of our own abilities, really. Well, that was my big takeaway. Paul, I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, I love that. Confidence is huge. I think that's a great takeaway to have. Yeah, Paul, I'd love to hear what your takeaway is. What's something valuable you've gained?
I think it was like once we were wrapping Moon River, we really got into this mindset of almost even moving into the film industry, like just the level of commitment to making movies where it's not really an option. Like, oh, well, you know, if I'm not on a Netflix show in like a year, or if this movie doesn't get picked up, like, I guess that's it for me. It's like, I'm like pricking my finger, signing the contract in blood, being like, yes, like this is the path. This is what I'm doing. And I related a lot to, I mean, even Dallas and I, it's like the Coliseum. I feel like Los Angeles in a lot of ways is like the Gladiator Coliseum.
Oh,
and
that's a great metaphor. Absolutely.
Right. And it's where it's a brutal place. Like, it is a bloody, brutal place. Like, there's so much stuff going on that's just horrible. And it's a very difficult place to be successful. And it's like, if you win like huge. And if you lose, it's like death. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so brutal. So Dallas, I mean, we kind of took this on after Moon River. I feel like Dallas and I, we take on this mindset that we're kind of like these modern day, I mean, very much want to be like gladiators in the Coliseum, where we're like, we're going on. We're coming from nothing. We're wearing like our potato sack fucking whatever wardrobe with these fucking like shitty boots, and we've got these like iron swords that we've just been like fucking practicing with for years and years and years. Because when we get that moment in the Coliseum, and this is even from the perspective of like when you talk about like the Nepo babies and everything, you're like, we may one day be face to face with them in the Coliseum. But like we know that it's up to us to just train and prepare so rigorously so that when that moment comes, we have been training for it for a decade. We are ready when that moment comes. And it's also like it's entertainment. Like that was the form of entertainment.
So are you not entertained? Yeah.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Sorry,
like,
cheap quote.
No, right, but it's really true.
Snakes on a plane.
And we draw a lot of inspiration from that, where we're like, hey, we're putting on a movie, like we're entertaining these people. I would even compare it to like it's us and our crew in a Coliseum, and they unleash 10 lions on us, and like we're not guaranteed to make it out alive. You know what I mean? Like the movie could flop. It could just all go horribly wrong. We could lose everything, etc. Even making the movie, doing all that stuff. But we're like, when that gate unleashes and the lions come out, like we're putting on a show, and we've got to just be driving our swords through the skulls of those beasts and just like taking them down like one by one, like to survive, to give ourselves like another fighting chance to live and play another round in the Coliseum. Like it's this large game. And I feel like the more that we've just been like, yeah, here's our signature in blood, like this is it for us. This is all we're doing. We're just fully committed to it. Like we will live by the Coliseum, die by the Coliseum. Like this is our path. Like that adds a lot of this kind of like, you know, energy towards it, to where it's like, oh yeah, like, and I think people feel that like when we're going to make a movie, they're like, yeah, these guys are like going for it. Like they're going for it. Like they're risking a lot. They're pushing to be like one of these great people to make an impact on the industry and do this thing. So I get carried away talking about it, as you can see, but yeah.
No, there's nothing wrong with it. I love that. I think that's probably the coolest metaphor I've ever heard, and the coolest thing is the gladiatorial spirit of filmmaking. Like having that gladiatorial spirit. I absolutely love that. That's the attitude that you should carry. That's what I felt, is like that kind of energy when you guys came and hung out and let me, you know, be around the set and what was going on. I felt that energy and I was like, I love this. I want to be a part of this. This is awesome. And that's what you should carry, is that gladiatorial spirit of filmmaking. And also it sounds like we know what your next film project's going to be. So good.
Oh yeah, that would be. We've tickled the idea of a Roman movie.
But
oh, you got to now.
Yeah, and just to close out that idea, like even part of like the whole gladiatorial spirit thing is like the hardships that come with it, like being treated really poorly in a lot of difficult situations. You know, like having to train really hard and do these like long hours and very difficult work, and just go through like the shit storm of everything. Like I joke with people at work where it's like from Trailer Park Boys, like it's a shit NATO. Like
it's a shit NATO. Yep.
Yeah, like it's brutal. But I feel like that aligns with that kind of like Coliseum type of mindset, where it's like, yeah, it's brutal. Like when we get hit by stuff, you know, it's like a boxing match. It's not like we get hit in the face and we say like, hey, that's not fair. We're like, oh no, like that's where we're at. Like that's what this place is. Whether or not we like it, we've just like we're in the, you know, we're in the ring. Like we've got to respond. And part of that is like training outside of it, so that when that moment comes, like we've been preparing and studying and training. And like Dallas and I are both like running, like Dallas ran 5 miles a day, I ran 4 miles a day. Like we're eating the right nutrition, like we're budgeting our finances, like we're just like maniacally preparing for that moment when we get that opportunity to present our work in front of a lot of people. Like we hope that it shines through. Like they've been putting in work for a long fucking time.
Absolutely. I love that. You know, going off that gladiatorial spirit, and adding to the fact that we had mentioned the unexpected that happens, and with filmmaking, everything is expected to be unexpected. But I want to know, what did you guys actually want from this project? What did you expect with Moon River?
I mean, I think we just kind of had like a list of expectations. Like it would be we want the movie to get this amount of views on the YouTube channel, and if it hits this number, like to us, then we will consider that like a big success. We kind of wanted to use Moon River as basically pitch material because, again, like we mentioned, we're going to be in about a year from now starting our first feature, which will be called Signals. And Moon River is almost in a way like a pitch deck of like, here's proof that we can make a movie. This is the style we're going to go for. So it's basically to help us get the next one. And then I guess just grow the channel. That was my expectations with it.
Why not? Having growth is a great thing to want, especially considering that you're trying to build a production company. You want growth. You absolutely need that.
Yeah, I mean, we like totally are like understanding like, okay, we're gonna just like make a movie, great, thumbs up, make a new movie, great, thumbs up, make a new movie, and that's the plan of like just do that and repeat until like we die. So we're like, okay, this is just another one of the many movies that we're gonna make. So really, no pressure. Like every movie is just about like growing the channel, getting X amount of views, helping us make the next one, and just boom, boom, boom. You know,
I love that. It's simple, it's perfect, and it should be what you want. Moving along, I want to ask you both, what is your drive? What motivates you to do this?
Just the fear of like being like a bum and going back to my hometown. And
yeah.
Like, so the film didn't work out, and I'm like,
that's what we all fear. That motivates me, that's for sure.
Like,
I ain't going back.
It's like once you're here, you kind of just have to make it work, or else it is that like awkward Christmas of everyone's like, "How's the film industry?" And I'm like, it's good. I'm actually just moving back to town. I'm moving back to my parents' house."
No, so that was a waste of 10 years, huh?
Right? Yeah, exactly. Like it's kind of like, oh, like we've both, Dallas and I, like we've kind of left our family and friends behind from our hometowns, and that's a big sacrifice. So it's like, if we're going to make such a big sacrifice, like this has to work. We have to become successful in this industry because of what we've sacrificed already. Like to sacrifice that much and then go back to like a hometown with like our tail between our legs being like, yeah, it was just really hard and we couldn't do it. Like that is so painful to ever have to do that we're like, oh no, we will keep going. That way when we see like our loved ones, like our family and friends, we're like, yeah, we're coming back with like the head of the line, and we're like, look at what we got, and everyone's like, wow, that's fucking awesome. And we're like, yeah, but you don't know the shit we had to fucking, the hills we had to climb.
Yeah, no. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, look, the fear of failure is real, and it's a great motivator that, keeps you going. And I wouldn't even say that it's so much the fear of the failure, it's I'm going to deny that like even those moments where we do fail, you're like, nope, I'm not giving up. I'm learning from this. This sucks. It sucks really bad, but I'm going to learn from this and keep pushing forward. Because you said it earlier, Paul, it's all trial and error. You are going to fail, but don't just give up and go back. Like, why? You've already made it this far. Keep pushing. Let that motivate you. If you fuck up, learn in that moment, hold on to that moment, remember that shit. It will make you better.
That's
right.
I
love that. And even in those moments where like, we know like this moment is where most people would quit. Like this exact, like we hit a certain problem with our production, and we're like, we found it. We found the moment where like 99% of people just quit.
You sound so excited about that, though. You're like, we found it. We knew it was coming.
Yeah,
there you are.
Because we just know. Like we're like, this is so unreasonably difficult. It's like a joke of like, how the fuck are we gonna climb this fucking mountain? Like this is when everyone turns around because it looks so unrealistic. And we're like, this is where like any sensible person just says like, yeah, no, this makes no sense. Like, let's just turn back. And I'm like, that's when like the reasonable person turns back. And that's when we're like, okay, we've got one direction we can go. We have to go and climb this mountain. We have no other choice.
I love it. Wrapping this all up, guys, I just want to ask you right now, or rather, I'd love a statement from you. Is there any advice or anything at all that you would like to say to anyone out there looking to do what you do, to any future filmmakers, future actors, production creators? Is there anything you'd like to tell them?
Just commit.
Ooh, I like that.
Commit. Sign prick your
Blood oath,
fingers,
yeah.
take a blood oath, like with yourself, like we're climbing this fucking mountain. You'll either see us waving from the top or dead on the side, but we're not coming back.
I like that. A lot of people usually at this point, and it's always been the shared sentiment, which I love. It's just do it, like Nike, just do it. But I like that you say no, commit. It's more than just doing it. You got to commit to it. And as we mentioned earlier, even those moments you fail, you need to stay committed and learn from that, push forward. Absolutely. I love that. This has been great. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate you coming on. As we mentioned, Moon River is out right now, streaming on YouTube. You can go watch it on their channel, Really Serious Films. There are links in the show notes. But I would just like to hand this over to you guys. I know you've been talking this whole time, but the show is about you. It's about the independent artists. Is there anything you would like to say before we wrap this all up? Anything you'd like to add? And of course, please promote yourselves. There are links in the show notes, but say it out loud anyway.
Yes. So again, look us up on YouTube. Really Serious Films is our channel, and our movie is Moon River. And on August 31st, we'll be dropping the Moon River documentary, which is the story behind the story, the making of the movie, from my perspective.
Okay, from just your perspective. I like it.
Perspective of me, and I don't let anyone off the hook. We dive in.
That sounds great. I can't wait to see it, because I don't know if I should. I don't take you guys serious anymore. I just don't. I don't. It's my fault the first time, but you're not gonna fool me you're not gonna fool me again.
You're in the documentary.
Oh, I love that. That's great. Oh, now I'm definitely gonna be watching it. Well, you heard it here first, guys. Check it out. August 31st. Go look it up. It should be out today, I think, or close to it, depending on when I release this. But check it out. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. Any social media links if anyone wants to reach out to you guys and say hi?
Really Serious Films.
On Instagram, Really Serious Films.
Okay. Awesome. I love it. Yeah, as everyone who's been listening today, enjoy what you do. Stay committed. I really liked what Paul said about being committed. And of course, the gladiatorial spirit of filmmaking. If you want to be a filmmaker, you got to be a goddamn gladiator and keep at it. I really don't have anything better to go off of or to say, because Paul and Dallas said it best. So I guess until the next time, everyone, stay golden.
Stay golden.
Thanks for tuning in. And if you like what you heard, please rate and review, like and subscribe. Every little bit helps. And as always, the theme music of the show is provided by the Ericka page. And our brand new graphic designs are all thanks to Quality Artworks. Links are in the show notes. Go support these amazing indie artists just like they support IPA Sessions. And of course, please follow us on social media. We have Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. That's at IPA Sessions Podcast. And if you or someone you know is an independent artist looking to promote their work or just share their story with us, please hit me up at ipasessionspodcast@gmail.com. Thanks again, everyone. And I hope you're able to find some inspirations for practical applications